Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/malicious compliance. Never touch your truck again? You got it, neighbor. I, 59 male, live in a major city in Ontario, Canada. I live in a small subdivision and have 5 neighbors total on my street. For the past few years, during the winter when we're getting a lot of snow or a bad storms, as I'm leaving for my overnight shift at around 8 to 9 p.m., I'll put my wife's windshield wipers up on her car and do a quick walk around to my other 5 neighbors and put their windshield wipers up on their cars. Obviously not if they're outside or something, but if it looks like they're in for the night. Many of them forget to do this, as many of them have children and it typically slips their mind, and their wipers will be frozen to their car in the morning. It's just something nice I like to do to look out for my neighbors. They're all always grateful of this and thank me for it. Many of them started doing it too, and there will be nights where I'll forget to put mine and my wife's up, and in the morning one of the neighbors has done it for us. Anyway, recently one of our neighbors moved and a new family moved in as of last week. It's a young couple and their 2 young children. The other night I was leaving for my overnight shift at around 9 p.m. It was snowing really heavy and we were supposed to be getting almost 30 centimeters of snow and it was freezing out. So I put my wife's wipers up and do my usual quick walk around to the other neighbors. I was hesitant when I reached my new neighbor's house, as I've only introduced myself once, but did it anyway. As I was putting the second wiper up on their pickup truck, the husband came charging out of his front door yelling, "Hey, what the F are you doing to my truck?" I tried to explain to him I was just putting his wipers up to help him. He continued to scream at me to get the hell off my property and don't touch my crap again. The wife then came out and started yelling at me too. I apologized and started walking away. Some of my other neighbors heard the commotion and came outside to see what was happening. They tried explaining to him too that it's just something we do. Both of them wasn't having it. Fast forward to this morning, I'm arriving home from my overnight shift, and as I'm walking in I see the wife of this couple struggling outside to break the ice off the windshield wipers of the truck. Guess she was trying to take her kids to school and the wipers were frozen solid on the car. She sees me and yells over, "Hey there. Do you mind giving me a hand, please?" I look over to her and yell back, "No sorry, thought I was to never touch your crap again, ma'am," and walked back inside. She yelled back at me, "Wow, butthole." Told my wife about this. She thinks I should have helped her because she was just trying to get her kids to school. I disagree, as I was just following what they told me. Next story. Customer asked me to count out a bag of live crickets in front of her, loses out on bonus crickets. I, 32 female, work part-time at a pet store to supplement my income as my salary of a full-time teacher doesn't always pay the bills, plus I have a few pets and 20% off of in-store purchases is rather helpful. Anyway, one of the things we supply are live and frozen feeder animals for things like reptiles, certain aquatic creatures, and invertebrates. These include things like mice, rats, dubia roaches, bloodworms, mealworms, waxworms, superworms, and crickets. The mice and rats are either frozen or live, but either way they're easy to count and box up for the customer. Dubia roaches, mealworms, waxworms, and superworms are pre-packaged and price-marked, but the crickets are not. Crickets are kept in these large containers with mesh top, egg cartons for the crickets to climb and hide in, cricket food, and hydration. This means when customers ask for crickets, which we usually sell by the dozen, we have to count and retrieve them manually while putting them in a plastic bag we then fill with air and tie off to go with the customer. Our method for transferring the crickets is to lightly tap the egg cartons over a funnel-like object that doesn't have a hole at the bottom. We tap the crickets in, wrap the plastic bag around the mouth of the funnel, then tip it and lightly tap the crickets into the bag. Some crickets jump in out of order or cling to others, so often customers are given bonus crickets, which we're okay with. It's better than shorting them. So, customers are always given the right amount or often more than what they asked for without an increase in price. Most people get this. The customer in this story did not. A woman comes in and she asked for 4 dozen crickets, 48 crickets total. I went to the back, tapped the crickets from the cartons into the funnel and then counted them into the bag. As per usual, the occasional extra cricket tumbled or hopped in, probably putting the total to a bit over 50 by the time I was done. I bagged them, tied the bag, then took them to the counter. Now, I don't know if this woman was having a bad day or she had been stiffed by another store in the past, but she demanded that we count out the crickets in front of her before she pay for them. I explained that it was likely that she got more than what she asked for and counting out 48 crickets individually would take a little while. She insisted she wanted to be sure we weren't ripping her off. So, I got one of those small, plastic critter keepers and a pair of tongs. I opened the bag, making it deflate and slightly more painful to work with, and inserted the tongs. Delicately so not to crush the crickets, I grabbed each one with the tongs and started counting slowly so not to crush the crickets with the tongs or lose my place while counting, something I do struggle with, and dropped each individually counted cricket into the critter keeper. So after about 5 to 10 minutes at the counter meticulously counting crickets with tongs, and maybe deliberately taking a little bit longer than I had to out of spite, a line was building up behind the woman and I was getting close to the end of my count. Eventually I hit the grand total of what she paid for, 48 crickets. And wouldn't you believe it? There were 10 left over in the bag, almost a whole extra free dozen she would have gotten had she not asked me to count. I said, "Oh. Would you look at that, my mistake? You were right, I did miscount. I'll put these other ones back and ring you up for the 48, I'll be right back." And before she could protest, I wandered off to dump the last 10 crickets back into the cricket container. When I came back to check her out, she was silent, not looking at me, did her best to ignore the irritated looks of the customers lining up behind her while I poured her 48 crickets back into a plastic bag. She paid then slunk off sheepishly out the door without a thank you or a glance back. I then got through the rest of the line quickly and apologized to the customers in line for the wait. I sent them home with some free samples, thanked them for their patience, then continued along with my shift. She never complained, and she did return to the location several times after. She never asked anyone to count crickets again. Next story. Cheeseburger with no cheese. Yeah. I know. That's a hamburger. But try telling that to every single Mrs. After Church Karen 100 times and let me know how much you want to press the point. A cheeseburger was 25 cents more than a hamburger at fast food restaurant where I worked back in the day. Eventually I got tired of being yelled at for correcting/explaining that what people really wanted was a hamburger. This happened multiple times a month, mind you. I wasn't getting paid enough to stupid-proof hangry people's fast food orders. So I started ringing them up exactly the way they ordered. At first I'd ring them up for a hamburger, 'cause I knew that's what they meant. But I got chewed out by someone who read their receipt, so no more going out of my way to save people from their self-inflicted stupid tax. The first time I rang up cheeseburger, no cheese, the cook came up to tell me I rang it up wrong. I just said, "That's how she ordered." My dead-on-the-inside tone said all that I could not express in mere words, and the kitchen employees caught on right away. They never questioned the orders rung up that way again. It was a win-win. I didn't have to get yelled at for trying to save people money, and the restaurant made an extra $1.50 every month from customers ordering cheeseburgers with no cheese. I don't mean to brag, but sometimes the restaurant made a whole extra $2 a month thanks to me. It was a little thing, and petty, but it made my retail-weary heart a little glad. Next story. Want to lie about your natural hair color? Have fun with an awful dye job. My wife, 22 female, and I, 22 male, got my little sister, 12 female, some semi-permanent red hair dye for Christmas. She really wanted it and was very excited to use it on herself and her cousins. The hair dye is bright red, assuming you're light blonde or bleached, but sis has dark brunette hair, so the dye becomes a dark burgundy on her. Everything that follows is what she told me. I wasn't there for any of it. Sis brought her hair dye to family Christmas at grandma's so she could share it with our plethora of cousins. One of our cousins, Anna 16 female, is pretty entitled. She's a compulsive liar and manipulator. I keep my audio recording app handy on my phone when I'm around her should I have to use it because I don't trust her. She has also done some mild bullying and taking advantage of sis in the past year or two. Anna asked sis to have her hair dyed. Anna obviously has had her hair bleached to a medium light or light blonde. Sis asked Anna, "Is your hair bleached or dyed? If it is, then it's gonna turn out really bright and look crazy." Anna said, "Know what, haha, this is my natural hair color." This is where the malicious compliance comes in. Sis and my other cousin share a knowing look before getting to work. After they let the paste sit for a reasonable amount of time, they wash it out. Instead of pretty mauve accents like in Sis's hair, the back of Anna's hair looks like a bright, clowny, patchy mashup. Anna's response, I kid you not, was to look surprised and say, oh yeah, I did bleach my hair, I totally forgot this wasn't my natural color, lol. At this moment Anna's mother came in and was not happy. Anna wanted to take even more dye from my sister to try to even out the clown hair she had given herself, but Anna's mom stood up for my sister and wouldn't let her take more. This dye is only semi-permanent, but it will still take 10 to 15 shampoos to be fully washed out. I only learned all this because I took my sister out on a breakfast date after New Year's. I was worried that Anna had bullied Sis into using as much hair dye as she did. When I asked about it, it turns out Sis just wanted to let Anna pay for her obvious lie. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.